Hi, it's Neal Benedict from our Sandler Training facility in Northwest Houston. I wanted to come to you and talk to you today about something that's very important for salespeople and one of the best kept secrets in all of Sandler, which is the upfront contract. Now, the upfront contract is one of those particular tools that we like to refer to in Sandler as the art of mutual agreement. So the upfront contract, really what it's going to help you do as a salesperson, it's going to help you bring the client along on the journey with you. It's going to allow them to understand what your ultimate goal of any interaction is, and it's going to help demystify that interaction so that there's comfort, trust, and ultimately an outcome involved with any interaction that you have with a particular prospect. So let's go into the different aspects of an upfront contract. So let's learn about the 5 components of an upfront contract. The first component of the upfront contract is the meeting purpose. It's very important that you understand and that you don't mind read with the client. So when you sit down with them initially, always revisit the purpose of the meeting. Why are we here? Why do they believe that they're engaged with you at that point? Why are you sitting across from the table from each other? Don't assume and don't believe that you have the answer. Make sure you confirm that with the client. The second part is the time allocated to that meeting. Oftentimes, particularly if you're at a client's site, there are things that may get involved with the time frame. There are things they might get pulled into. So make sure that when you sit down and engage the client, that you understand whether or not the time frame that was allocated for the meeting is still the time frame that they can commit to. Just make sure that you ask them that question. Make sure you confirm. The third aspect of the actual upfront contract is the prospect's agenda and expectations. Again, don't assume that you know what their agenda should look like and what their expectations are. So make sure that you verify that every step during the process. If you're engaging with them via email or via phone, you can still use these tools and techniques and still talk them through what their prospect's particular agenda is and what they're interested in covering during that interaction. So just make sure that, again, you don't guess what that is and that you confirm it with them. The fourth component of the upfront contract is, of course, the salesperson's agenda and expectations. Equal business stature requires you to be able to communicate what your expectations are and what you hope the agenda is going to look like. So don't be afraid up front to talk through the fact that you're going to need to ask them certain sets of questions, that they're going to need to be able to be honest with you and up front as part of the expectations you have for that particular interaction. And then the fourth thing is actually the outcome of the meeting, right? Make sure that you establish a set outcome, whatever you want that outcome to be, whether it's another meeting, whether there are other decision makers you need to pull into the conversation, whether it's getting a contract penned and sent to the client, or whether it's some other aspect of the sales process that you want to execute. Make sure that that outcome is both talked about and clear up front in the upfront contract. And an outcome can really end up from our perspective in Sandler, in 2 locations. One is the no, right? And that no has to be very well defined. So when the salesperson comes in and starts discussing the purpose of the meeting and walks through the upfront contract, make sure that you explain what that no means to the client. And make sure that you have the first no involved in that process. So if, for an example, you're halfway through the conversation and you realize that your solution or your service does not solve the client's particular need, put a timeout out there, let the client know that so that you don't spend more time than necessary to get to that no. But ultimately, the first no is yours, the second no is the client. So make sure that the client is comfortable with the fact that you may tell them no, but even probably more important, make sure that they're comfortable telling you no if they don't see a good fit between what you're offering and what their particular challenge is. And then the second outcome, really, from a Sandler standpoint, is really that yes. And that yes also has to be well defined. You have to make sure that they understand what the yes for you means and that you confirm with them what it means for them. So a yes, again, could be anything along the lines of the next step of the meeting. It could mean that you would like them to review your contract. It could mean that there, again, are other decision makers you need to pull into the conversation, or it could mean that we're simply going to schedule a follow-up meeting and discussion. But you want to make sure that you get a well-defined no and yes, so that at the end of the conversation, there's a clear path moving forward. So that's what the upfront contract is. And if you use this particular tool, successfully in your selling career, you're going to be much more effective. You're going to have much more effective meetings. Your meetings are going to be much more efficient because you're going to be able to get accomplished just about everything that you need to get accomplished in the time frame that you set aside, and you're going to be much much well received from your clients in future meetings if you execute an effective upfront contract. So again, upfront contract, great tool to be using. Look forward to working with all of you, and good selling.